You are listening to Growing Up in America the Way It Is. This is a rebroadcast of our live episode, which airs every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Central on 90.1 FM KPFT Pacifica Radio here in Houston, Texas.
Looking out a dirty old window, down below the cars in the city go rushing by. I sit here alone and I wonder why. Friday night and everyone's moved. I can feel the heat, but it's
plowed up grasslands, releasing carbon from the soil, and they applied fertilizer, which also emits global warming pollution.
We saw that the overall emissions associated with those land use changes were quite sizable and in many cases overshadowed some of the potential savings that corn ethanol offered relative to gasoline.
So he says the research underscores the need to scale up other, less carbon-intensive sources of biofuels. Climate Connections is produced by the Yale Center for Environmental Communication. To hear more stories like this, visit climateconnections.org.
Hi, I'm Boyd Bluestein from the Blues Cats Lounge, and you're listening to KPFT Houston.
looking out a dirty old window, down below the cars in the city go rushing by. I sit here alone and I wonder why. Friday night and everyone's moved. I can feel the heat, but it's soothing heading down. I search for the beat in this steady town. Downtown, the onwards are going. Downtown, the onwards are going. We're the kids in America. Woo! We're the kids in America. Woo! Everybody lives for the music around.
Good morning and welcome to Growing Up in America the Way It Is here on 90.1 FM KPFT Pacifica Radio. I am your guest co-host today, Bree Derry, and I'm here with my fellow guest co-host, the fabulous Lynn Lucas. She is the Associate Director of Early Childhood Education with Children at Risk. Good morning, Lynn. How are you?
Good morning. I'm so good on this sunny Wednesday. How are you?
I'm good. It's also very, very sunny over here. Love it. So for those of you who are listening in and who are new to our program, Growing Up in America is a discussion on our children, public policy, and how do we as a city and a community do when it comes to taking care of all of our kids. This radio show is a production of Children at Risk, a nonprofit organization dedicated to research, public policy, law, and collaborative action on behalf of Texas youth. Each week, we aim to fill these same 60 minutes with lively discussion on the children of Texas with experts on the quality of life for our children.
And we have some great guests today, right, Jabri?
We do. I'm so excited for our first interview. So we're going to kick it off with Miss Jenna Fondren. She is the statewide Safe School Institute Director of Crime Stoppers Houston. We're going to be talking all about Mental Health Awareness Month. Following that, we're going to be discussing ELQN, so the Early Learning Quality Network, with the one and only Shaquila Douglas, who is with the Harris County Public Library. And there's some amazing, very exciting updates happening that our community just has to know about with that project. And then to close us out, we have the one and only Kim Cofford, who is the Senior Director of Education with Children at Risk, to talk about childcare advocacy and how we can really just support that industry right now in the 89th Texas Legislature, as we only have a few weeks left to go. We're also going to hear some amazing updates from Rebecca George with Hip Speak. I can't wait to hear what she's going to stump us with today. And then we have our regular host, Dr. Bob Sanborn, who is around the world right now, and he's going to be just sharing his observations, status updates, etc. So he'll be calling in for a very special segment.
Coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine. Gotta be down because I want it all. It started out with a kiss. How did it end up like this? It was only a kiss. Now I'm falling asleep and she's calling a cab while he's having a smoke and she's taking a drag. Now they're going to bed.
It's a throwback Wednesday today. I love it. And so before we jump into our discussion with Jenna here, and I might actually ask Jenna as well, we do also have our data of the day happening. And today our number is $450 million. Lynn, Jenna, do you have any guesses as to what that could be?
$450 million. So I'm thinking maybe this is the the miss on the return on investment for children who aren't engaged, whose fathers aren't engaged with like their schooling. That's what we lose. We lose $450 million.
I like it. Jenna?
That's a really good guess, and I would have never gone there. I don't know. I'm gonna toss it back to you. I don't even can't even wrap my
That's
head around
okay.
that.
Right, it's a big number. I am thinking maybe it is, ooh, the amount of money we need to invest in the childcare system to really, whittle down that wait list and really support providers. But
Hmm.
I don't know. We'll find out.
I do love that. That's a good guess, Bree.
I thought you would win with all your expertise. But now I am so excited to talk with Jenna today. Jenna, how are you doing?
I'm great. I just feel very honored to be here and speak with you guys about mental health. It's a subject that we feel very strongly about covering in schools. And it's one that I feel like we'll just always need to continue talking about.
Absolutely. And I think the more you talk about it, like the better everything gets around you. If my psychology undergrad taught me anything, it's that just having the conversation and breaking down that stigma is the most important thing usually. So from your perspective, Jenna, you again are the statewide Safe School Institute Director of Crime Stoppers Houston. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. Why is mental health such a critical issue right now among youth in Harris County?
A great question. We've been looking at data surrounding mental health for a really long time, and we've seen a very steady decline in mental health or just healthy mental health, right? Because there is good mental health as well. Healthy mental health since really the rise of social media. And so when we look around like 2010 till now, we're seeing a lot of kids who are really, really, really struggling with different mental health disorders. But the top two that we typically see are anxiety and depression. So when it comes to the rise of social media, I think the pandemic had a absolutely ginormous effect on children and their feeling of stability. Um, and just stressors that are much different today than they were 20 years ago. And so we're just following the trends, taking the kids' leads, experts' leads, and trying to step in and have the hard conversations.
I love that work that you're doing. I think it's critical and so right. I love that you connected the pandemic with that because I think all the conversations I've been having with folks that are younger than me, I'm 28 right now. So I feel like anybody in their early 20s, high school, junior high, even younger, there's this existential unrest happening right now. They don't really know what their future is going to look like. So I think it's really important to have those conversations. Jenna, you also work with the Million for Million campaign. So can you just tell our listeners what that is and how that relates to this discussion we're having today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my role at Crime Stoppers is I oversee the Safe School Institute. So, we go into schools every single day and we talk to kids as young as pre K, kindergarten, all the way through the 12th grade. We also offer education for parents, educators, and school based law enforcement. And so, our goal there is to ensure that students never become victims of crime and that they also have enough information to make sound and informed decisions. We have been reaching hundreds of thousands of kids through direct in person services for many years. We have an incredible team of people who go into schools all over Texas to do this. But our CEO had the vision to reach 1 million kids in a single year. And what she was thinking is we need to tap into the avenues where kids are seeing this content outside of in-person presentations at their assemblies or in classrooms. And so we devised a plan where, of course, we're going to offer the direct services in classrooms, but we're also going to use like digital marketing assets to really reach kids via social media, through QR codes on kids menus, on at different restaurants. Like how can we be in front of kids all the time? Because unfortunately, we know that they're on their phones all the time. So to kind of flush out the negative and the bad. Maybe if they happen to stumble upon a Crime Stoppers video about mental health or about dating or about bullying, or if they're at a restaurant and they click on the QR code and they can read something that's positive, we're trying to make really simple changes and steps in that direction.
I love that. It's so innovative, and I also love the reaching a million kids. That moonshot number is fabulous and so motivating. So there like pre-K all the way to, to high school, that's a big age range. Can you help me tell us a little bit about, is there any difference between the way those different age groups are reached?
Big time, big time. And that's such a good question. So my team and I, we write curriculum for those ages, but it's very, very specific to their development and to curriculum that is required by the TEA and experts that we work with in all fields, different nonprofits, community leaders, mental health professionals. And so it's really a collective effort on how to create curriculums that make sense for certain age groups. I'll just speak on the mental health curriculum and how that kind of works for K through 12. So we have like 3 to 4 different presentations. We've built a mental health presentation for students K through 2, so kinder through second. We have then a little step up from there where we dive a little bit deeper from 3rd to 5th grade. And then we have a middle school presentation and a high school presentation. And what we're doing in elementary schools is we're not necessarily talking about mental illness or mental health disorders. We are talking about recognizing your feelings and recognizing when other people aren't feeling their best or 100% or being able to notice changes in behavior, and also empowering young kids to come forward and know that there's no shame in asking for help. And then the steps just go up from there, right? So by the time we get into middle school and high school, of course, we're addressing mental illness, suicide ideation, making sure they know all the mental health resources that are available to them and why you might be feeling this way. So it's an escalator, but I feel like these conversations need to start happening at 4 or 5 years old. I have 2 little kids at home and I'm already addressing these with them.
That's amazing. Emotional intelligence and just having that conversation early on, but also that recognition is incredibly powerful, I feel like. I love that that's the cornerstone of what you're doing and you're just building on this foundation that you start very young. I wish I had that when I was in elementary school and kindergarten.
I know. It's so funny. I mean, of course, I'm very, very proud of the work that we do, but oftentimes I'll be presenting and I'm like, oh, I should have heard this when I was 5 years old. Or I'm so glad that the pendulum has swung to now we're feeling empowered to have these conversations with such little kids.
And that's how you break cycles as well too, and how you make the world a better place, by knowing what you can have and delivering it for the next generation as well. So we are close to being out of time, but I just have a couple more questions for you, Jenna. I wanted to know, what resources does Crime Stoppers of Houston offer? And then what role can friends, parents, and teachers play in supporting this work?
Absolutely. So Crime Stoppers, we offer a myriad of things, whether it's direct presentations in a classroom, in a school setting. We also have an incredible resource center online that you can download just almost thousands of tips for free. We have a tip line that you can call, and our tip line also services people who feel like there's mental health crises happening. So we want to make sure that people know that. And we also have this really cool new texting feature where you can actually text a number and resources are directly texted back to you. So you can go to our website, crime-stoppers.org, to find all of that information. And what was your second question? I'm sorry.
Just how community members, teachers, friends can support this work.
Yeah. So I would like to leave this. Don't wait until you feel like a child is struggling to start having the conversation. We should be having conversations with kids every single day, all day long. Mental health doesn't have to be this doom and gloom conversation. It can be something that's talked about often, just as much as we talk about physical health. So I just want to encourage parents and educators to always check in on the kids that they love. If you feel like a child you're supporting is struggling, you can always reach out to us to see what mental health organizations might be a good fit um, to offer those direct services to your child. Just don't be afraid to advocate for little ones and tell them that there's no shame in asking for help and absolutely nothing is wrong with them.
Oh, I have chills. That was beautiful. Thank you for that closing message. I hope that everybody hears it. I'm sure they're all resonating with it. But
Oh,
Jenna,
and one last thing, everything that we offer is free, everything. So Crime Stoppers does not charge for our education, and I'd be so remiss if I didn't say that. So, I want you to know that we can't put a price on safety. If you need us at all for anything, please don't hesitate to reach out.
well said. Thank you, Jenna. And for our listeners, that is Jenna Fondren, the statewide Safe School Institute Director at Crime Stoppers of Houston, talking about Mental Health Awareness Month. It's been wonderful to have you, and I can't wait to have you back on, Jenna.
Thank you so much, guys. I hope y'all have a wonderful day.
You as well. And we're going to take a quick musical break, and then we have the one and only Shaquila Douglas. She is the manager and LNO project lead of the Early Learning Quality Network with Harris County Public Library and the Early Learning Quality Network, like I said. We'll be talking with her after this quick musical break.
Now I just fell in love. And I just quit my job. I'm gonna find no drive. It worked me so hard. Work by 9, then off past 5. And they work my nerves, that's why I cannot sleep at night. Motivation. I'm looking for a new foundation, yeah. And I'm on that new vibration.
And we are back with Shaquila Douglas. Shaquila, how are you doing today? Shaquila?
Oh, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, hi. Sorry, we're off of Zoom connection here. I think it just took us a minute to warm up there, but it's so good to have you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be back.
Of course, it's always a fun conversation, and I know there's been a lot going on with the Early Learning Quality Network and Harris County Public Library, and so we don't have a lot of time. I just want to jump right into it. For new listeners, can you share just a little bit about your role with HCPL and also how your team is involved in the ELQN work?
Yeah, sure. So, thank you for the introduction. My name is Shaquila Douglas, and I am the project lead at Harris County Public Library for the Early Learning Quality Network. Harris County Public Library is a part of the ELQN project. We are one of two of five local network organizations. And so we get to do this work in both Precinct 1 and Precinct 3. So I am the lead over both of those teams. And yeah, we're in the community just grinding it out and trying to get the word out about ELQ and these initiatives.
And I was speaking with your team just yesterday, and my favorite thing that was said was Overachievers Anonymous. Because you're serving a very large area, but you're really just striving to get the message out, connect communities to these resources, and improve the quality of early learning for precincts 1 and 2, which is a lot of work. And so, as we move into this next phase on ELQN, can you just tell us what's happening down on the ground with you guys, what you're expecting, what our community should be on the lookout for right now?
Yeah, definitely. So we're so excited about this new phase. We are moving into implementation. And over the last year and some change, we have been on the ground surveying both communities, trying to figure out what can be done to involve community voice in improving quality education for our early learners. So from there, we made advisory committees that helped us with our child care quality action plan. And though that child care quality action plan birthed these 7 initiatives that the ELQN project is going to be releasing into the community. So we're finally at the implementation phase. We've got our first initiative that's out and applications are open. And so for our training and professional development initiative, we are accepting people to apply. I've heard that we've already have some people applied, and we just announced it last week. So we're really excited to start getting these initiatives on the ground and to getting people involved in improving early care in our communities.
Shaquila, I am so I love this program so much. There is nothing like impacting the life of a child when they're in their earliest years. It's like the highest return on investment. I love this program. And I think it's the 7 key initiatives. I was listening in on the press conference and realizing that there's this menu of each precinct to choose from. And so which ones did your precincts choose? And how did you go about that? Why did you choose those?
Yeah, so well, I'll start with how did we choose them. Again, that childcare quality action plan, that was birthed out of surveying the community. So we were having feedback sessions, um, actually administering surveys and trying to figure out what the community thinks would help improve childcare in their area. So for Precinct 1, what came out of that was the Training and Professional Development Initiative, Technology for Households, and Technology for Childcare Providers, and then the Facility Safety and Security Initiative. And then so for Precinct 3, they differed just a little bit. So they do have that Training and Professional Development Initiative, but they've also got facility safety and security, curriculum development and implementation services, early learning kits and materials, and emergency and temporary care. So all of this was because the community told us that this is what they needed to see in order to improve quality. And so we just did our best to listen and to come up with initiatives that reflect the community voice.
I think that is one of the most powerful parts of this work is really that community-led, community-centered, really, piece. And it's what's going to make this work sustainable, long-lasting, and have the biggest impact for providers, families, children, all in the area. And so you mentioned that training and professional development has applications open. Can you just tell us who's eligible, why they should consider applying, and where they can find more details and apply?
Yeah, sure. I think for the training and professional development initiative, I want to say all of the LNOs will be participating in this, which means that Harris County the community kind of came to a consensus, right? That like training and professional development is super vital for enhancing quality of childcare. So what we have available, there are two different service lines, and we're so excited for Rupani to be the vendor that's putting this on. So for the first service line, we'll have community-based training, and those will be for community members that live in the designated zip codes and are at or below 85% of the state median income. And so informal caregivers are also going to be included in that, which is like our friend, family, and neighbor care, right? And then our other service line, we've got provider training and coaching. And so that will be for our child care workers or our child care centers and our child care homes that are participating in child care services in those designated zip codes as well. So there's two, and it's really cool because it's incentivized as well. And so not only do you get to learn this like training that helps with, the care of children, but you also, you'll get paid for your time. And so I like to say that because, there's an investment not only in our own personal development, but in like the community. And so we really want people to apply and to take part of that so that we can, keep our early learners as safe as possible and like learning in environments that are encouraging to them.
Quick shout out for including friend and family care on that. That is most fabulous.
Yeah, and it's really important when we start talking about the cost of childcare and access. A lot of people are using the friend and family care, and so it's a very important demographic for us to be reaching.
I think it's amazing. This work again is just amazing, and I'm so excited about this being available for applications. And so I do want to just ask a little bit here. How can our listeners connect with you, Shakila, if they're in Harris County Precinct 1 or Precinct 2, or how can they learn more information about what you're working on, really?
Yeah, they can visit us at Harris County Public Library. Our website is hcpl.net /early dash learning dash quality dash network, which is a mouthful. But if they search up Google Harris County Public Library and put ELQ in, then we'll come right up.
I was gonna say, I Google you guys often, and I just do HCPL and then ELQN, and that's ELQ as in queen, N as in network. And
Yeah.
so it's easy to find, and you guys are out in the community every single day. It's it's hard to miss you, I would say almost.
Yeah,
And so
almost. And I'm sorry, I just want to say also we're out in the community still doing events monthly. And so if you Google us and search us up, please come to some of our events. We'd love to hear your voice, see what other resources we can provide to the community. So, there, even if you're not eligible for initiatives, you are still like encouraged to come hang out with us and give us your opinion on, quality childcare.
And ELQN has the best events. I've been to a couple and they're so much fun. They're just like a little block party, but they're also very informational and very engaging. And so, Shakila, I know you're busy. I'm going to let you go, but I have one final question to wrap us up. I just want to ask you on a personal note, what does this work mean to you and what impact do you hope to see in your community based on the work you're doing?
Oh man, education has been like so big for me like since I was young. My mom, the first few years she was able to stay home with me, and when my brother was in kindergarten, she was teaching me what he was learning. And so, that kind of foundation just really was like a building block for the importance that I think education has in our communities. And it brings people together. And so this work is important because it's a diverse population that we're working with in Harris County. But not only that, it's also like reaching to some of the most marginalized. And so that is the kind of the work that just fills my heart. And so I'm excited to be one of the stakeholders in the community that are saying, hey, there's an investment being put into early child care, and it's important for the community voice to be heard. So this work really just means everything. And I'm just excited to be a part of the project.
Ah, mic drop. That was beautiful. The perfect way to close out. Shakila, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy day to join us here today. I'm very grateful for you and all the amazing work you're doing.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a great day.
You as well. And up next, we're going to be speaking with Dr. Chris Kulesa, a child health policy scholar over at Rice University's Baker Institute, also known as our Dr. Data. And he's going to tell us what $450 million is and why both of our guesses were so wrong. After this quick musical break, we'll check with him. And we are back for some weird science with the one and only Dr. Data. Dr. Chris Kulesa, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's great to have you on the line. And so we were guessing, and I guessed childcare investment that's needed in Texas. Lynn, your guess was?
My guess was father involvement, that there would be a 450 million return on investment with father involvement at the young age.
Oh, father
And
involvement, that is a really good one. But no, unfortunately, that's not it. In fact, this is a little bit of bad news in terms of public policy. That is the amount of money that the government of Texas has left on the table for combating child hunger in Texas. So that is what we refused in federal dollars for feeding kids in the summertime through the Sunbucks program.
So this is kind of baffling to me. I don't know why you would just leave money on the table. Can you break it down for us a little bit?
Sure. So the program was passed a couple of years ago, bipartisan, by the U.S. Congress, because during the summer months, kids are, of course, away from school. And many kids in the state of Texas end up relying upon free and reduced lunch at school. And many of the school districts, including like HISD, have even had universal free and reduced lunch for their students for a variety of very good reasons. So this program was passed to bridge those years during the summer so that families could get up to $120 per student to help them with those summer food costs. And that would mean in Texas about 3.75 million children would be eligible to get this support, and about $450 million it would cost. But it would cost the federal government that amount of money, not the state. So the way that the state argued that they shouldn't get this money is because there's a 50-50 breakdown between who would pay for the administrative costs to support the program. So for Texas, that would be around 50 to 55 million. The state of Texas said 2 years ago when this was first offered, well, it's going to take us a while for us to get the infrastructure. We have so many kids, and right now we really can't afford that cost, administrative cost. So a lot of the thought was that, okay, coming into this year, the Texas government would be able to cover that cost, especially with our budget surplus. But again, they rejected the money. 1 out of 13 states to do it. So kind of the thought is, well, we have a large budget surplus, and Texas is actually outside of the norm in terms of accepting this money. Surely the other states have all figured out how to accept it, but unfortunately in Texas, we just decided, no, we're not going to take it.
Which is so to me. Oh, go ahead, Lynn. Sorry.
No, I'm just first of all, leaving money on the table is just painful to me. But second off, there are a lot of other places where food funding sources are being cut right now. And so this just kind of adds salt to the wound. What impact do you estimate this will have on our communities? I mean, what are families and children going to do?
It's really difficult. And, there are many community programs that try to reach those kids over the summer to give them support, right? But this can be really hurtful for families that really don't have the means over the summer to help their kids. And you can argue, right, that $120 for that many months really isn't really that high of an amount. But any amount helps, especially when it comes to families that really don't have a lot of good options. So this is really going to have a very devastating impact on those families, especially it's money that's really not going to cost the state that much to accept at the end of the day.
Well, and it's extra heartbreaking knowing that during the pandemic, we implemented all these different food assistance programs and made these things accessible to kids, to families. And we're just going the exact opposite direction now because it's going to cost us a little bit to match it.
Right. And what's so frustrating, too, is that other states have figured out how to accept this funding. You kind of have to wonder, part of it, of course, is politics, right? The idea being that, well, the federal government is already running a major deficit. Should the states really just be accepting money? Because, at the end of the day, it's fundamentally going to impact every taxpayer because that's still our federal income tax and other forms of taxation. But other states, again, have figured out how to accept this money and administer it. Texas is an outlier in many things, but it's not so much of an outlier that they couldn't make this work for us.
Dr. Data, I have a question. So I can just hear some of our listeners out there asking themselves, so why is this a community issue to feed students during the summer? Shouldn't families just take care of this themselves? How do you respond to that?
Yeah, and I can understand that, but however, access to food is a very complex thing. It's a systemic issue that is based on neighborhood conditions, family conditions, economic conditions. And at the end of the day, we have to think that the investments that we make in children today are going to pay off later. These children did not choose to be in the situations that they are in. And better food security that impacts better brain growth, their academic performance, their behavior long term. So as we address food insecurity at a younger age, that's going to pay off many times in the long run. So I do understand to a large degree that it is ultimately up to the family to be able to provide for their kids. However, situations are such that many things that families just simply can't control. And if we're making the investment now, it's going to pay off later.
You make a good point because we talk a lot about the summer slide. And if children don't if your brain can't work well, your body can't work well if you're not getting those key nutritional components that you need. And at the end of the day, that impacts our whole communities, whether we're the ones directly feeding children or not. So that makes sense to me.
Thank you. And that's exactly right. You know, we really have to consider, at the end of the day, how are we servicing our kids? How are we making sure that they are as well off as possible so that they can have the tools for success later? And food is so fundamental that if that need is not met, we're just setting ourselves up for failure along quite a few other metrics.
Oh, that is some bad news. You're right, Dr. Data. Thank you for that very informative data of the day. On a final question, is there anything that we can do as support programs are being cut, as money is being left on the table? What can communities do to support kids and families this summer, just getting the food they need?
Of course, it's really getting involved. I mean, we're at the end of the legislative session, and unfortunately, the Texas policymakers had until March to accept this funding, so there's not much we could do this year. But however, it is important to highlight the issue and tell your story so that going into the next calendar year, hopefully programs like this, like Sunbucks, are accepted.
Well said, well said. Thank you, Dr. Data, for joining us today. That is all the time I have, unfortunately, but it's been a great conversation.
Thanks so much. Take care.
All right, and we are going to go over to Hip Speak for our next segment after this quick musical break. We'll be right back.
I want to be forever young. Do you really want to live forever? Forever,
All right, and we are live with the one and only Rebecca George, our Hip Speak aficionado, who is keeping us forever young on the trending terms. Rebecca, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm leaning into the corny jokes today. I'm so excited.
I love it.
So, what are you going to stump us with today? What have you got?
So our first phrase is reheating nachos.
Why would you reheat nachos?
And why is it a phrase? Why is it a stand-in for something else? I don't know.
Okay, so I'm going to take a wild swing here. Reheating nachos, they're terrible. They're soggy. You don't like them. So maybe you are bringing up a conversation like it's almost like a new rendition of like, oh, I hate to say this on the radio, but like beating a dead horse, like that old phrase, but a little more PC, I would say.
Or maybe it's like, oh, no, I can see that, Brie. It's like, don't reheat your nachos. Don't reheat the nachos. Like,
Yeah.
come up with something new. Don't reheat the nachos.
Actually, you guys
Recon-
are both pretty spot on, except for it's actually more seen in a positive way. I'm going to be so honest with you. I don't know why it's called reheating nachos specifically, but usually it's for like musical artists, there's like singers or influencers where they're kind of recreating something that's already been done in the past. So like it's been said recently, like Lady Gaga just released her new Mayhem album and she's reheating her own nachos because her music on Mayhem is very similar to the earlier releases that she had in the 2000s. So that's kind of an example. I don't know where the phrase originated from. That'll just require deeper research, but it's just kind of a funny little joke all over the internet.
I love that, actually. And it makes a lot of sense because we're in this era of like reels and retweeting, reposting, stitching, all these different things. And also music is making a resurgence back to the early 2000s era as well. So that's fascinating.
I always
Super
wonder where
funny.
these words and phrases originate from, Rebecca. It's a curiosity. It's like, where in the world? Who in the world?
I'll just have to do some further research on it because I genuinely have no clue.
Well, keep us posted. And we have time for just a couple more terms before we go to our Around the World, Where in the World with Dr. Bob. But what else do you have for us, Rebecca?
So the second term I have for you is bed rot.
Bedrock?
Bed rot. ROT.
Rot.
Like
Bed
brain
rot.
rot, but bed rot.
Yeah.
I mean, like the reheating the nachos, this doesn't sound like it would be a positive thing. It sounds like, oh, it's like bed rot. Like it's rotting. It's sitting there. It's old. It's old. Like it's bed rot. Like
You would guess that it is like, so I call these potato days, honestly, not bed rot days. And I would say that it's like you spend half of Saturday just laying in bed watching reruns of Friends or something, and you're just rotting in bed because you are tired or you're cozy and treating yourself or something.
Yeah, Bree got it spot on. It is basically just like laying in bed, just either you're scrolling or you're watching TV or you're like just kind of laying there. And it's not even like necessarily a bad thing. It probably, for some people, it is a bad thing where they just can't get out of bed for like a couple days. But it's just kind of just letting yourself just like like sit there and just, just let yourself rot for just like a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like potato days for real.
that one makes sense.
I love it. Essential for the mental health, I think, too, actually. But Lynn, I don't think you ever take a bed rot day. I feel like you're so active.
I think I feel if I have a moment of bed rotting, I feel I can make an adjective. Like I'm bed rotting. I feel very guilty about that.
No, that's the potato day. It's self-care. All right, Rebecca, we have one more minute before our next segment. Do you have one more term for us?
Yes, and my last word for you is chat. And it's not chat as in like conversation. So I know that already has another meaning, but this is a different meaning of chat.
It's CHAT, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna say like that's so chat. Like that's so chat. Like it's a good, quick chat. That's so chat. That's such a good way to wrap that up quickly.
I love how you use that, Lynn, and it feels almost like Gretchen Wieners with "That's So Fetch," but a slightly different term. I have no idea, frankly, and I like Lynn's. I'm gonna go with it's a quick way to wrap it up. It's witty. It's a nice little summary comment.
So actually, chat is something that's used more on the internet. It's not usually used in conversation. And it's used to emulate, if you've ever been on Twitch, there are these people who are called Twitch streamers. And they like video, whatever they're doing. Maybe it's like playing games or something. And usually they have a chat. And so Twitch streamers will usually like, chat, is this actually happening? Chat, what's going on? And so usually it's used to like acknowledge like a fake audience.
You know what? My boyfriend is a serial gamer, and I should have known this. He's going to be so disappointed in me. Well, thank you so much, Rebecca. That was a great hip speak. Up next, we're going to be speaking with Dr. Bob Sanborn, who is around the world, and we'll be having a quick little 5-minute segment with him just to get the lowdown on child well-being, what he's seeing, and maybe some conversation on the best food he's tried so far. But after this quick musical break, we'll be right back.
Kissy face, sent to your phone, but I'm trying to kiss your lips for real. Red hearts, that's what I'm on, yeah. Come give me something I can feel. Don't you want me like I want you, baby? Don't you need me like I need you now? See tomorrow, but tonight.
Welcome, Dr. Bob. It's your favorite song. We are so
is.
excited to have you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. From around the world. I'm in Denmark, Copenhagen, Denmark today. So
What on earth? That's amazing. So how's the weather in Denmark? I'm curious. Is it cold?
So right now, as we speak, it's 63 degrees, and it's it's almost 5 o'clock in the evening here, and I'm going out to see a concert tonight, and it's supposed to get down into the 50s. So very cool. Yesterday was the highest it's going to be for the next 2 weeks, 70 degrees yesterday. So pretty warm.
That
But
sounds lovely.
cold overall. Yeah. So. But it's interesting as I walk around Copenhagen. I was up in the northern part, a little neighborhood called Nørrebro, and which is not how they pronounce it here at all, but it's how it looks. And I saw all of these kids, and so my first thought was, I think that maybe there's a lot of kids here, right? Is the birth rate different here? But actually, no. Actually, the birth rate is significantly declining in Denmark, like it is in all of Europe, really. And last year was one of those years where actually more people died than were born. And so you have a birth rate, it's about 1.5, so not even replacement. So you see a country that's shrinking. And Denmark, much like lot of other countries in Europe, has not had as much. They've had a fair amount of immigration, but not as much as they've had a number of years ago. So even immigration isn't doing enough to really to have replacement value for the population. And the other thing, as it applies to the United States, is that we've heard a lot of this natalist talk in the United States, and we've talked about it at Children at Risk. This whole idea of how do you encourage good family policies? How do you make it so that a family really can afford to have a child and wants to have a child, right? What can we do these things, which we don't do in the United States? But there's talk about doing this. And Denmark, much like the rest of Scandinavia, has done a very good job of paying families money to have babies, making sure there's childcare available, high quality childcare, making sure there's plenty of parental leave, all the things. If we were on the right and the left and we said, what are all the things we could do to encourage birth? Denmark is doing all those things, from paying Danish families to do it, to making sure there's family friendly. And still, we have this decrease in the number of people having kids. And part of it is that young people, they get more education, they care about their careers, they care about themselves, and they just don't have as much time to have kids. And it's sort of an interesting thing.
That's so fascinating. And it is. I mean, that sounds like it's a trend that's happening all over the world, definitely in the United States, kind of coupled though with some of the other issues that it sounds like Denmark's tried to make an impact on. Are there other things that you've noticed as you've traveled around so far that's surprising to you?
I think the level of health in Copenhagen, right? I mean, here it's very cold. I mean, it's still relatively cold, and people are cycling everywhere. People are biking everywhere. I'm on one of the little wide canals, and we see people out jogging every morning. I mean, and people look healthy. I mean, that's the thing, and it's amazing. And as you go into certain neighborhoods, you noticed more diversity in terms of. I mean, not the same level of diversity that we get in Houston by any means, but I think more than many other European countries. And I think it's part of it is we're in Copenhagen. I think the other very interesting thing is that English is a common language here. We were at lunch today at a ramen bar, and no one there was from Denmark, but everyone talked to each other in English. And it was the manager was Austrian. There was a Serbian person working there. There was a guy from Italy, and everyone spoke English. So it was I think it was very interesting. But it's been a fascinating trip, I have to say, and I look forward to giving more reports. And to your point, Bree, the food in Copenhagen, right? People generally don't think of Nordic food as being that good, but because historically Copenhagen has had some of the best restaurants in the world, there's just an elevated level of food here. A lot of seafood-based dishes. The big thing in Denmark, the big Danish food, is a thing called smørbrød, Smorbrod, which literally means butter on bread. But what they do is they put smoked salmon on the bread or shrimp and vegetables, and it's an open-faced sandwich. That is typical Danish food. The other thing famous about Denmark, of course, is pastries. What do we call those famous pastries in the United States? Danish, right? So you have a lot of those really extraordinary pastries here in Denmark as well. So it's
That's
a lot of
amazing.
stuff that you don't have to be healthy with, but you are. So
Is it lunchtime yet?
it's almost happy hour here. So
Well, that was a great around the world update, Dr. Bob. Thank you for taking time to join us. If there was one final thing you could say today, what would it be?
skål, which is sort of what you do when you toast. You say skål. And here's an interesting little thing. When you toast, you look each other in the eye. So it's like it's a skål, and that's an important thing. People take their toasts seriously here. So skål. So skål to you guys. And as they would say, they say thank you is tack, but they say tusen tack, 1,000 thank yous. Tusen tack.
Aw. Well, Tucson talk, Dr. Bob, and we will
Right.
talk to you next week.
Take care, guys.
All right. And that was Around the World with Dr. Bob Sanborn, our regular host. And up next, we have the one and only Kim Coffrin talking to us about childcare advocacy as the session winds down. We will be speaking with her after this quick musical break.
Imagine there's no heaven. See as if you try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all the
right, and we are back with Kim Coffrin, who is a Senior Director of Education with Children at Risk. Kim, are you imagining all the people that we can help if we just support childcare better in Texas?
Yes, you took the words right out of my mouth, Bree. 100%. I was imagining if we actually got the $100 million. I was imagining if all the bills passed that we wanted it to be passed. Yes, a brighter day in Texas for sure.
Yeah.
I'd like to say I'm particularly appreciating this moment because I get to interview my boss on radio. Do you realize how I could take advantage of this moment? With all the questions I have for you on air, Kim. But
All right,
I'm gonna
public
take it away.
record. Here we go.
I'm going to start with, you've been so busy with the legislature, and I know like every day it's a brand new world. What are the childcare early learning issues that you're keeping a particularly close eye on right now as it changes day to day?
It does change today. We just got notification this morning that one of the bills that we are championing has a hearing tomorrow. So we're frantically working on making sure that we were ready to go for that. So the good news is we've got some bills across the finish line or on the way to the finish line, and then we still have some bills in play that our work is not done. Many times at this point in the session, as an early childhood advocate, you might be done and because all of your bills have died, but that is not the case this year. So we are super excited that the governor signed Senate Bill 599 last week, which was a bill to help family child care owners and reduce some barriers at the local level. So super excited about that. There are a couple others that are on the way to the governor's desk. So we are excited about that. Tomorrow we have a reimbursement rate bill that is looking at child care providers. And then the big one that we are all anxiously awaiting and hoping to have good news is the House Bill 500, which is the supplemental budget, where there's $100 million in that budget to go to child care scholarships.
So so much really good work done. So congratulations to the whole advocacy and early education community for the work that's happened on that. Shout out to the support for family providers. I know that you've worked really hard on that. You mentioned a historical investment for support of childcare, HB 500. Tell us a little bit about why this is so monumental. Why is this a big deal?
Oh, it's such a big deal. So one, the major reason it's a big deal is that all of our money that we get for childcare scholarships that help low-income families afford childcare so they can go to work, so they can improve their family's financial situation, is related on the federal government. It's all related on a grant through the feds. And we currently have 95,000 children on that wait list. So the amount of money that we get from the feds is not nearly enough to cover the number of children that actually need that care and need that support. And so this $100 million that would be a state investment is one, it is a first-time state investment for the state of Texas to put money for childcare, and two, it's going to help pay for those scholarships for those 95,000 kids. And so we are super thrilled that one, it's a historical investment for Texas to say yes, we support young families and children, and two, it's going to help get those kids off the wait list and parents can go back to work.
Amazing. And I know it's not nearly what it's not the injection of cash that we need in this sector, but it's a fantastic start. It's so important. From what I've heard in my limited scope, that wait list is very long. It takes a long time to get those scholarships. And so, Kim, we only have a little bit of time with you today. I know you're very busy, so I'm going to ask the hardest hitting question so far. How can
Okay.
we support this and get this over the finish line? What do you need from your community right now, from advocates, from people who just care about childcare?
Yep, it's all over in the Senate. And so the House has done their work. So it is in the Senate's hands. So talking to your senators, your state senators, talking to the Senate Finance Committee to make sure that as they are making the deals of what stays in and what stays out, that we make sure childcare stays in. The more we can hammer home that message that this is an important use of our tax dollars is to support young children and families. The more they hear that, the better.
Okay, so let's say, Kim, that I'm going to hand you the magic wand and you can implement any one early childhood policy this session. Here you go. There's a magic wand. What will you do with it?
I'm gonna do. There's two. There's two, Lynn. One is $100 million, and getting that across the finish line because again, it will be a historic investment and so meaningful and will impact families right away. And two, it's the reimbursement rate, that bill, the hearing that is up for tomorrow, that can really make a difference. It's a way that we support child care providers who take low-income children and serve that population to make sure they get the dollars that they really deserve for the quality that they're offering.
Well said, Kim. I hope that your magic wand wishes work, both of them. And we are out of time for the primary interview right now, but we're going to close it out with our speed round, my favorite time of the entire episode. So I want to know, from your perspective as a childcare advocate, as somebody who's been in this field for a very long time in different roles, in a perfect world, what would every kid in Texas have access to by the time they turn 10?
Every kid in Texas, by the time they turn 10, they have all the food that they need, the housing that they need, the education, which includes the early childhood education that they need, and the health care that they need.
That would be a beautiful Texas, I think, and a beautiful world.
It would be a beautiful Texas. It would be.
Imagine the world. That would be
all right, Lynn. We have time for just a couple more speed round questions. Do you want to give Kim one of the hardest questions of the entire episode?
Okay, Kim. Here's a speed round question for you. What's one thing that you've learned to appreciate as an adult that you totally overlooked as a child?
Oh, that's easy. Naps.
Yeah, that's true.
I think every adult could agree with that. Naps all the way. All right. And to close us out, Kim, you know I love music. I'm all about our theme songs, our intros, etc. And so if your life had a theme song, what would it be?
Oh, my life have a theme song? Oh, that's really hard, Bree.
I know.
Oh, listen, see, now you've stumped me. I had naps at the tip of my tongue.
Maybe it's just the song that you have on repeat right now.
You know, so when you said that, the one that popped in my head was it's not really a song. It's just it's kind of sung. It's from Nemo when Dory says, "Just keep swimming, 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 just keep swimming." So we're at the end of session. So right now I am just keeping swimming. So
that's perfection right there. Just keep swimming, people.
Absolutely. That was the best way that we could have ended this episode. So thank you, Kim, for being here. Thank you for your inspiration. And we will just keep swimming until session ends, and we'll keep swimming after that.
That's exactly right. Thank you, ladies.
All right. And that was Kim Coffrin, the Senior Director of Education with Children at Risk, talking about childcare advocacy. Thank you all for listening in today. Thank you, Lynn, for being my fabulous co-host. It's so much fun with you here today.
Anytime.
And this has been Growing Up in America, a production of Children at Risk and KPFT Pacifica Radio. If you enjoyed our discussion, be sure to tune in next Wednesday from 9 to 10 a.m. here on KPFT 90.1 FM. 90.1 FM. Or check out our new podcast every Monday at noon on rss.com. This is Bree with Lynn, and we'll talk to you next week.
I hopped off the plane at LAX with a dream, my cardigan. Welcome to the land of fame excess. Am I gonna fit in? Jumped in the cab, here I am for the first time. Look to my right and I see the Hollywood sign. This is all so crazy. Everybody seems so famous. My tummy's turning and I'm feeling kinda homesick. Too much pressure and I'm nervous. That's when the taxi man turned on the radio and the Jay-Z song was on. And the Jay-Z song was on. And the Jay-Z song was on. So I put my hands up to play my song. The butterflies fly away. Nodding my head like yeah. Moving my hips like yeah. Got my hands up.
With all the things that are happening in the world today, sometimes you really want to escape. KPFT provides sanity with a great variety of music, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It is available online at kpft.org, where you can also become a sustaining member today. It is safe, secure, and easy to do. For all the times you want to get away, and for all the times you want to smile and enjoy the music.
I hopped off the plane at LAX with a dream, my cardigan.